Chapter 481, Another Encounter with Golden Fragrance. The entire battle took about a minute. When the teams received the news, it took them some time to figure out how to get to the location. By the time they arrived at the place, they couldn't even find the corpses. The poor players had already been killed. This was the news that Changing Spring and Arasema got. Their people arrived at the location and found no traces whatsoever. "What's going on?" the two shouted out at the exact same time. They were asking Chen Yahui because the information had come from Chen Yahui. "They already escaped," Chen Yahui replied. "What about your men?" "Dead," Chen Yahui said. "Dead," a hint of schadenfreude could be heard in their voices. Cough, "Sorry about your losses." Arasema tried to hide his joy with a slight cough. He truly is targeting excellent era. Arasema couldn't have been happier. He had no idea what was happening on Changing Spring's end, but he planned on releasing the news later. He wanted excellent era to suffer, but he did not expect this would cause them to lose track of Lord Grimm altogether. It had only been a minute. Yi Shu was indeed powerful, but how strong could a level 52 character be? Even a silver class weapon had to follow the level rules. Maybe that guy's silver weapon had a special attribute that lowered the required level? For example, a level 50 weapon with an attribute that lowered the required level by 5 meant that a level 45 character could use that weapon. Similarly, if the required level was lowered by 10, then a level 50 weapon could be equipped by a level 40 character. This type of equipment was undoubtedly worthless to a max level character, but it was pretty useful for a character who was still in the process of leveling up. Arasema guessed. He checked and found Lord Grimm hadn't logged off yet. With the target missing, he could only ask his men to continue searching the area. "Slow, too slow. Do you have any decent equipment? What kind of trash are you wearing? With this kind of lame attack power, aren't you ashamed of yourself?" The two ran along the streets. Deception was feeling very good about himself from the previous battle. Initially, he was a bit bitter about Lord Grimm, so he tried to mess him up. After having enjoyed the benefit of teamwork, he started to cooperate with Lord Grimm. The high efficiency of killing 3 players within a minute made him extremely proud of himself. In the end, he got scolded solemnly by Yi Shu during their escape. "How do you still have the shame to laugh at my equipments?" Deception was surprised by the sudden outburst. "Is this guy seriously mocking me with his ridiculous rainbow set of equipment?" It was true that he didn't wear his best set this time, but at least everything he was wearing was from the heavenly domain. "Which level am I? Does the heavenly domain have anything that I can use?" Yi Shu retorted. Deception didn't know what to say. Heaven's Realm was released when the max level in the game was still 55. As a result, the lowest leveling area and lowest equipment level were both level 55. Quiet, Yi Shu abruptly interrupted Deception. Lord Grimm, who had been walking in front, came to a sudden halt. Clearly, there were enemies up front. "I am going to lure them out. Get ready to use the underground tunneling technique. Wait for my signal," Yi Shu explained as Lord Grimm charged out. "Lord Grimm!" a female shouted from outside. The voice sounded a bit familiar to Deception. "Whoa," Lord Grimm also cried out in surprise and scurried back. Shameless, Deception looked down on Lord Grimm's acts, but he still used the underground tunneling technique. His character dove into the ground and stayed underground. This skill allowed the character to stay underground for a while. The only requirement was the use of a ninjutsu. The sheath on the ninjutsu could be used as a straw to draw air in for breathing. While underground, because of the underground tunneling technique, the player would only be able to see a small area above his head. The player could adjust his view, but not by a lot. Just after Deception dove under, a rainbow figure ran across his screen. No one other than Lord Grimm would wear such a disgusting combination of equipment. Lord Grimm took a sharp turn into the narrow alley and then jumped up onto the roof immediately. The chaotic footsteps told Deception that a huge crowd of people had rushed into the alley after Lord Grimm. There was at least half of a patrol of them. Deception was shocked by the crowd. Then a message popped up in the chat, the same launcher as before. "Attack her." then destroy her. Deception looked through the small view and spotted the launcher immediately. The ID above her head, golden fragrance. He still says he has nothing against launchers? With such targeting, Deception seriously doubted Lord Grimm's intentions. Right now, attacking anyone was the same, so I'm going to deliberately attack someone else. Deception thought happily and was about to attack when he heard the launcher yell, "Where is he?" And also that Deception. I'm going to tear him to pieces along with the other one. Tear me to pieces? You're the one who's going to get torn to pieces. Upon hearing her threats, Deception redirected his attack towards golden fragrance right away. Underground tunneling techniques attack didn't attack a set point, but a place in his visible range, so it could be used as an underground teleportation type skill. Deception set his sights on golden fragrance. He shot out from underground and went directly towards her the moment she entered his attack range. Golden fragrance was launched into the air by the sudden attack. Deception followed Yishu's advice for the moment. His character flipped, his head down and feet up, as he delivered a kick straight to golden fragrance's chin with a broken flash. The airborne golden fragrance flew even higher than before. While the surrounding players were still reacting to the sudden ambush, a battle spear shot down from the rooftop. Its tip embedded itself into golden fragrance. With a fluid arc, the circle swing smashed the girl onto the rooftop. Lord Grimm then swung out his hand, and a grenade leisurely fell into the crowd. The crowd screamed for cover. The shock wave of the explosion had a blow-away effect. Unless one went into a super armor, there was no way for one to deal with the effect. On the other hand, the shock wave has no effect on Deception because he was on the same team as Lord Grimm. He jumped up and stabbed his ninjutsu into the wall. Due to the low walls, he was on the rooftops within a second. Lord Grimm already started to bash golden fragrance. Still annoyed by her earlier statements, Deception joined in without any hesitation, turning the situation into a group fight. "You two are seeking death," golden fragrance shouted. The two continued attacking without replying. "Our excellent dynasty won't let you off easily," golden fragrance continued. "Humph, excellent dynasty era. What's that?" Deception didn't even put these big guilds in his mind. He always stole these big guilds' kills, so he was never scared of them anyways. "Sister, are you new to this? Do you even understand what the situation is right now? Do you know who I am?" Yishu was also puzzled. He found this girl's arrogance to be extremely childish. "She's the golden princess. She doesn't care who you are," Chen Guo cut in. Upon seeing golden fragrance, Chen Guo was excited. This time, she jumped right into the mood without any doubts. Her only regret in that moment was that her chasing haze couldn't teleport to their location and join in on the fun. "I know who you are, but with only yourself, what can you do?" Golden fragrance was actually looking down on Yishu, but it was Deception who got annoyed. "Only myself? These people don't even see me in their eyes. Am I not a person?" This time, Deception completely misunderstood the conversation between golden fragrance and Yishu. The two of them were talking from a different angle. Golden fragrance wasn't ignoring Deception at all. Deception had made a huge mockery out of her earlier by stealing her equipment with Yishu earlier. Those actions had ensured a solid enmity between her and Deception. "Go die," Deception roared and attacked even more furiously. This confused Yishu even more. "Are we on such a good terms already? She was talking about me, so why are you so angry?" Yishu didn't realize that Deception had misunderstood the conversation. "You take over," Yishu asked. "I got it," Deception replied without any hesitation. "Faster," Yishu said and then took out a Gatling gun. Bullets rained down in a downpour, washing down all the players who were trying to scale the wall. Spells, grenades, missiles. Yishu threw down all of his long-distance skills to sweep the players away. The total damage couldn't be considered to be fatal in any way. However, their attempts at reaching the rooftop were thoroughly crushed. This time, Golden Fragrance was in a 10-person team. After she was knocked up, the other 9 players tried their best at jumping up to rescue her, but all of their attempts were fruitless. Lord Grimm defended the roof ferociously with all kinds of attacks. He wasn't aiming to deal damage. All he wanted was keep the enemies at bay and make them fall back down. Lord Grimm glanced down from up high. There were other teams rushing over. After their whereabouts had been reported, the enemies had clearly called for reinforcements. How much longer? Yi Shu asked Deception. These garbage equips really suck. Deception even cursed at himself. The attack power of the set he had for kill stealing was way too low for his liking. It didn't help him vent his anger at all. Tell her to hand over her weapon, then we'll spare her, Yi Shu continued. What kind of nonsense is this? Deception didn't understand Yi Shu. Take it at face value. Yi Shu jumped out sideways while talking. With a collapsing mountain, he smashed another player, who was trying to jump up, back down into the alley. Die! Deception roared. Yi Shu turned around and found Golden Fragrance flying away with blood spilling from her mouth. He had no idea what skill Deception used to do that. F***CK. What a waste of time. Yi Shu immediately abandoned the edge of the roof. Lord Grimm jumped after her. She's already dead, Deception yelled. Equipment, Yi Shu yelled. With an agile leap, Lord Grimm secured another piece of Golden Fragrance's equipment that flew out from her corpse. Deception was puzzled. I don't understand him at all. The three we killed before dropped equipments too, why didn't he go after them with the same crazed excitement? Could it be another orange equip? This time Deception had fun killing Golden Fragrance. He didn't really care what equipment dropped. The corpse of the girl flying away was nothing more than a corpse in his eyes. He didn't even bother looking at it. As of now, the equipment dropped was already in Lord Grimm's pocket. Was it another orange equip? Is he one of those high-level scrap pickers who only look for orange equips to steal? Chapter 482, Armor. Armor-piercing cannon. Hurry up and run, Yi Shu shouted as he dashed along the rooftop. What about the others? Deception was still a bit hesitant. They've all been killed by me, Yi Shu said. What? Deception turned pale. As if that's possible, Yi Shu sighed. Deception was speechless. He looked around and saw reinforcements pouring in. There was no way he could keep fighting, so he hastily followed after Lord Grimm. Golden Fragrance was dead. She didn't choose to revive though. Her ghost stayed floating in the air. Seeing the two leave just like that, she wanted revenge. As a core member of one of the top guilds, Golden Fragrance had experienced many things before, but today's situation was still a first. They had talked for a bit, but it was while fighting. The two quickly killed her, threw her corpse to the side, and then ran. What were her teammates doing? Why hadn't she seen any of them from beginning to end? What was going on? Golden Fragrance didn't choose to revive because in the heavenly domain, level 70 clerics had a revive skill. Revived characters would revive with low health and mana, but the character wouldn't be in a critically ill state. By reviving at the same spot, she wouldn't have to waste time running back here. More importantly, she wouldn't lose of her experience. However, the only thing she could prevent was losing experience. The money and equipment that had been lost couldn't be returned. This was because the money and equipment were still there. It was just that they were on the ground. Golden Fragrance gritted her teeth. An option on-screen appeared, asking whether or not she would like to be revived. After accepting it, the color returned to her world of gray. Golden Fragrance stood up. On the ground nearby was a small money bag that had dropped when she died. The amount of money was a percentage of her total wealth. Golden Fragrance picked up the coins and saw her 9 teammates standing in a circle, staring at her and not saying a word. As for the two who had run off, none of them had gone to chase after them. They were all waiting for Golden Fragrance's orders. What are you staring at? Chase them down, Golden Fragrance shouted. The team immediately rushed out. Golden Fragrance followed after, while checking her inventory in grief. She had been so sad that she had even forgotten to do this. Seeing the money on the ground around her, Golden Fragrance felt like it was a good sign. She even thought she hadn't dropped any equipment, but when she checked her inventory to look, her weapon slot was empty. Her world turned dark. My weapon, Golden Fragrance cried. The 9 teammates jumped up in fright. They turned around to look at her. Where's my weapon? Did it drop? How come I didn't see it? Lord Grimm had been too quick. He had picked it up so quickly that Golden Fragrance hadn't even seen it drop. The 9 others were silent. All of them knew how precious Golden Fragrance's weapon was. Orange weapon, armor-piercing cannon. Level 70, 715 attack power, plus 5/5 strength. It also had an additional effect. When attacking, there was a 5% chance to ignore armor for 6 seconds. This ignore armor effect was targeted. The armor would only break at a certain spot. For example, if your attack triggered the ignore armor effect on the body equipment, the body equipment would be ignored. The stats from the ignored equipment would be wiped clean as if it didn't exist. The durability would also decrease by 300% the normal rate during these 6 seconds. In Glory, when an equipment's durability reached 0, it couldn't be fixed, so if an equipment broke due to loss of durability, it would always be painful for the player. If they weren't careful, the equipment would be destroyed once the durability hit 0. There was no equipment in Glory that could directly reduce durability. Usually, the effects would make the durability drop 10% or 20% faster. This armor-piercing cannon was one of those type of equipments. Even though it only had a percentage chance to proc, a 300% increase effect was far greater than normal weapons. However, rapidly decreasing durability might be annoying for the enemy, but in a real battle, the ignore armor effect was much more useful. Erasing the stats provided by a piece of equipment would greatly weaken the target's defense. In short, the armor-piercing cannon not only had orange-level stats, its effects were useful whether it was in PvE or PvP. It was an extremely valuable weapon. Just hearing that it had dropped made the others feel hurt. Hurry up and chase them. Get it back for me, Golden Fragrance shouted in anger. The 9 others immediately began chasing. Golden Fragrance had already entered a berserk state. In the guild chat, she yelled out, calling for friends. It was originally a guild-related battle, but now, it had become a personal battle. Chen Yahui saw this, but he didn't block it. In fact, he was actually delighted. This was one very important reason why Golden Fragrance was able to become a core member in the guild. Club guilds may operate like a business, but the absolute majority of the guild members didn't have a professional, business-like attitude. They had gathered under the guild because of their love for the team and to support their favorite athletes. Doing work for the guild was the same as supporting the team, which was why many players were happy to do it. Clubs relied on this in order to gather a large number of troops. While clubs may have a strict system of organization, to the majority of guild members, the guild leader couldn't just order them however he wanted. After all, the players were there to play the game. Supporting the team was secondary. In their eyes, the guild leader wasn't that important. As a result, the tasks given by guilds were mostly voluntary. The guilds didn't dare force orders onto the players that weren't willing to do them. As for Golden Fragrance, although some people might not like her, the majority liked to circle around her. This type of person could rely on her personal connections to bring out a lot of players. Club guilds needed these type of people. The people Golden Fragrance called for may be her private friends, but Chen Yahui didn't mind. This was because these private people would listen to her and Golden Fragrance listened to Chen Yahui. Once a player became a core member, he or she would no longer be a regular player. The player would have to have a professional attitude. The clubs didn't let them do whatever they wanted all day. Core members could be managed and ordered around more easily. What's wrong, Golden Fragrance? Not only did Chen Yahui not stop her, he even tried to spur her on. My armor-piercing cannon dropped. Golden Fragrance was furious. This news made even Chen Yahui's heart hurt. Even for top guilds, this type of orange equipment wasn't easy to get. They're still here. Hurry up and get it back. Chen Yahui used the opportunity to urge Golden Fragrance on. He wasn't just saying it as an act. He truly wanted Golden Fragrance to get back the weapon. Core members were also the main force for dungeons and bosses. The armor-piercing cannon was very useful. Golden Fragrance wasn't the only player in Excellent Dynasty who had one, but one fewer, meant one less powerful player. I know, Golden Fragrance cried and sent an angry face. When others saw her crying in the guild chat, a whole bunch of players asked her what was wrong. After Golden Fragrance got promoted to a core member, she automatically became Big Sis Golden Fragrance. As soon as they heard her equipment had been stolen, quite a few of her supporters rallied up, telling her they would get revenge. Chen Yahui didn't say anything. These people should be sent out by Golden Fragrance, not him. They escaped again? What's going on? Arasema received the news. Lord Grimm and Deception had appeared again, but had escaped. I heard there were 10 people in that team over there, but they still couldn't stop them, Arasema asked Chen Yahui. He was starting to doubt whether or not Chen Yahui had let them go on purpose in order to avoid any further casualties. This wasn't like the past, where there were only 3 people per team. No one questioned Lord Grimm's skill, but as a level 52 character, his DPS wouldn't be high. 10 players should at least be able to stall for a good amount of time, right? However, they failed once again and could only continue chasing. No one had any confidence in chasing them down because Lord Grimm hadn't escaped without a trace just once. What do you mean? Chen Yahui had lost an orange weapon. How could he be pleased? If even 10 people couldn't stop them, there's no way we can kill them. Most teams are split into either 3 or 5 player teams. They have no chance. No, Arasema said. It's not like any one of us ever thought a single team could kill them, right? It's simply to widen our area of control. Once we find our target, we will surround them in one go, Chen Yahui said. Then we have to hurry and surround them, Arasema said. Yes, surround them. Who didn't do it? Chen Yahui said. Arasema was surprised. Could he have figured out that their herb garden's movements were a bit slow? The two were still fighting a word battle when new information came. They had disappeared once again. F*CK, Changing Spring shouted. What do you think? Armor-piercing cannon. Are you satisfied? Yishu asked Chen Guo. Not bad, not bad, Chen Guo nodded her head. The equipment was very good. It used to be golden fragrances, after all. The expression on her face was probably very good too. Who knew how long it would have taken her to get this weapon if she had stayed in excellent dynasty. You also won a hairband, right? But I don't think I saw golden fragrance with a hairband, Yishu said. I don't want hers, Chen Guo said with disgust. Equipment on the body affected the character's appearance more than a weapon, so she cared a lot about it. Chen Guo had chosen to wear a hairband to match her in-game appearance with her real-life appearance. As for golden fragrance, she used a flower hair clip. Chen Guo didn't like it at all, no matter how good the stats on it were. Who has a good hairband? Yishu asked. It's fine. This weapon is more than good enough, Chen Guo said. This was the truth. An orange weapon was definitely much rarer than a purple weapon. Finding one that could be used was extremely hard to come by. Many players were happy just to have an orange weapon, let alone one that suited them. You should go level up, Chen Guo reminded Yishu. Chapter 483, Is there space here? Now what? The guild leaders had a terrible headache. They had originally thought that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but after stationing themselves in Wilderness Town for some time, not only had they failed to achieve their goal, their opponents had killed off several of their men. A few deaths wasn't a big loss, but more importantly, they couldn't see any ray of hope. The two ran and ran. They would suddenly appear and then disappear. The 3 guilds had so many people pursuing them, but they weren't able to do anything except die. What were they supposed to do? Target found. Another one of these messages came. Kill them for me. Hurry up and kill them. The 3 guild leaders ordered. A minute later, another message arrived, we got wiped. It was another assembly of 3 players. These 3 clearly weren't opponents for those 2. They couldn't even last a minute. What did it mean to be able to kill 3 players in 1 minute? It meant that it wasn't a battle. It was a one-sided massacre. Lord Grimm was only level 52, so his DPS was limited. Deception was max leveled, but his equipment was lacking. On the other hand, everyone in the 3 guilds had a full set of equipment with good stats, yet they couldn't even last a minute before dying. If they had been sandbags with the same stats, the sandbags would have probably been defeated in the same amount of time. Their enemies had used the same trick twice. The ninja would imprison one with 100 streams and then focus on killing the other 2. Once those 2 died, they would come back and kill the one trapped in the water prison. It was a very simple tactic which relied on brute force. There wasn't anything special about it. The enemies are stronger. Let's have every team be made of at least 5 people. The backup from outside the encirclement have basically all arrived. We should hurry up and have them join. The three guild leaders hastily made adjustments to their plan. After the two wiped out the three-man team, they quickly vanished. They disappeared so thoroughly that they didn't leave any traces behind. The guilds couldn't even figure out their general location. Their only choice was to scour the streets. Time passed. Apart from knowing their targets were still online, they had no other information on them. Some people were even beginning to doubt the two were still in Wilderness Town. Just when the three guild leaders were wondering if this was true, a message arrived. The two had appeared again. Hurry, 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 hurry. The three guild leaders immediately ordered. Now, every team was made up of at least 5 players. If it was 5 against 2, they should be able to stall for some time, right? Sure enough, 5 was greater than 3. They were at least able to stall until backup arrived. However, the two didn't linger around with the 5 players. The two also ran away earlier. Everyone coughed blood as they chased with a terrible premonition in their hearts. Their premonition turned real and the two disappeared again without a trace. The team of 5 didn't wipe out, but 2 of them had still died. The cleric was hurried over to revive and heal them, but their money and equipment had already been procured cleanly. I thought you only wanted orange equips? In the previous 2 fights, Lord Grimm had picked up all the equipment that dropped. This made Deception confused again. He thought Lord Grimm was someone who only cared about orange equipment. Yeah, I don't really want to pick them up, but if I don't, then they'll take it back. It'd be better if I had it rather than them, Yi Shu said. How unfortunate. We can't kill them all. Deception and Yi Shu had completely swapped places. One of them wanted to kill other players, while the other one wanted to pick up scraps. Our damage isn't good enough, Yi Shu said. We don't have enough time. There was nothing Deception could do either. As soon as they engaged with the enemies would immediately send out a report to the others. Soon afterwards, a huge crowd of players would come over to attempt to catch them. They could only stop fighting and escape. Many of the players in the 3 guilds were exhausted, although there was still one group that was still full of fighting spirit. Sis Golden Fragrance, where are they? Someone in the team cried. This group wasn't fighting under the guild's banner, but rather under Golden Fragrance's name. Most of them were from Excellent Dynasty, but there were also a few non-Excellent Dynasty players. All of them were Golden Fragrance's personal friends. Lord Grimm. There are even rumors going around saying he's Yi Chu, one person said. It doesn't matter who he is. No one can bully Golden Fragrance. We have so many people here. We're not afraid of anyone. Thank you everyone for coming here. Besides Lord Grimm, there's also that guy called Deception. I think everyone has heard of him before, Golden Fragrance said. Deception? I know him. He's that scrap picker. Deception was still quite infamous. Yes, those two. My armor-piercing cannon was stolen by them. They haven't left yet. The weapon is still with them. Please help me get it back, Golden Fragrance asked. Don't worry. Even if we have to go to hell and back, we'll help you get your equipment back. All sorts of people were trying to win her favor. Good. Let's move out. I just received a message. Our targets have appeared, but they've escaped. We'll head over there, Golden Fragrance said. As a result, a team of 20 players headed towards the last reported location Yi Shu and Deception had been seen at. This team had gathered solely for Golden Fragrance. Even Chen Yahui wouldn't be able to order them around. He saw this, but didn't say anything about it. The players participating in this activity headed towards the location. As they moved towards it, they saw quite a few teams running around. The more they saw this, the more wary they became. How many people from the 3 guilds have come? Someone asked. So far I've seen enough people to make up several groups, one of them was astonished. Each group could hold 100 players each. It was considered a very large unit of measurement in the game. No matter how difficult a boss was, there was no such boss that a group couldn't take down. Yet against these 2 players, the 3 guilds had dispatched enough troops for several groups. There's nothing we can do. These 2 guys are extremely cunning. They're constantly hiding and running. If it was a direct confrontation, we wouldn't need so many people, Golden Fragrance explained. Then how are we supposed to find them? The two asked. Right now, we're shrinking the amount of space they have to move around in. Once we've shrunken it down to a small enough space, they'll have to come out, Golden Fragrance said. If the others kill him, then won't our trip have been wasted? Another person asked. Right, that's why we have to move faster. There are Herb Garden and Blue Brook Guild players here too. If they kill him and my armor-piercing cannon drops, I doubt they'll give it back, Golden Fragrance said. Yishu and Deception were running around. They saw a few individual teams while moving about, but they didn't attack them. Deception was starting to get impatient. Why aren't we killing them? After passing by another team, Deception finally asked. Look over there, Yishu pointed in a certain direction. Deception turned his head to look and saw another team come from around the corner of a street. The enemies are gathering together. The amount of space we have to move around in is being compressed. It isn't a good time to attack. The past few times we had a certain amount of time to finish them off, but this type of opportunity isn't going to be easy to find anymore. They're tightening the space between them, Yishu said. What do we do? Deception asked. We're going to have to move around in a large area. We have to go this way. They don't have complete control over this area yet. Yishu led Deception down a different route. How do you know? Deception didn't understand. Remember the enemy teams and observe their positions. Translate it onto the map and predict their movements, Yishu said. Deception was sweating just from hearing his explanation. Golden Fragrance. At this moment, Golden Fragrance received Chen Yahui's message. We've shrunken their area of movement on this side. I purposefully left a space open. They're probably going to be heading in that direction. You have enough troops. Finish them. If Herb Garden and Blue Brook Guild surround them, they'll probably take their items away, Chen Yahui said. Thank you, Guild Leader. Golden Fragrance was overjoyed when she heard this. Besides your armor-piercing cannon, take note of Lord Grimm's weapon. If it drops, you have to get it no matter the cost, Chen Yahui added. Okay, I understand, Golden Fragrance replied. Someone will provide you with accurate information. Okay. Golden Fragrance was delighted. She turned around and told the good news to everyone. Everyone cracked their knuckles. Their only regret was that just killing these two wouldn't be enough. After a short moment, Golden Fragrance received a message. It was from a player in Excellent Dynasty, reporting their location. Good, Golden Fragrance checked the map and after studying it, she led everyone to lay in wait for an ambush. Yishu and Deception weren't having an easy time running either. From time to time, they had to hide from small teams. It made Deception feel like the enemies really were gathering in one area, but as they moved, fewer and fewer teams appeared, letting Deception know that they were gradually breaking through the enemy's encirclement. Afterwards, for a long while, the two didn't even try hiding because no one was there. Did we break through the encirclement? Deception was surprised. Thinking of before, they hadn't even started shrinking the encirclement yet and he had already had a difficult time running away. Now that he was with Lord Grimm, they ran and stopped, neither slowly, nor quickly, and were able to escape from the encirclement with ease. Like I said, they've gotten a bit careless with their formation on this side, Yishu smiled. Really? Deception didn't have enough time to say anything more, when someone interrupted him. In an instant, many people jumped down from the roofs and buildings. It wasn't just 5 or 10 people. Deception looked around. There were too many to count. When Deception saw this, he smirked. They've gotten a bit careless with their formation on this side? You see, this formation doesn't count as a part of the previous formation, Yishu said. Now what? Deception asked. Kill them all, Yishu said. What? Deception thought he heard wrong. Look how arrogant and confident they are. This time, they probably won't ask for backup, Yishu said. That's not necessarily true, Deception said. More importantly, look who is over there, Yishu said. It's that girl. Yeah, she lost her weapon, so she wants to personally take it back. If others got it, who would return it to her, Yishu said. So you're saying, they're going to just stand there and let themselves be killed? Don't be afraid. I have a plan, Yi Shu said. Chapter 484, Formation. Golden Fragrance had suffered under Deception's hands twice already. There was no way she wouldn't be prepared this time. Launchers were a pure long-ranged class. They shouldn't even be letting their opponents get near. The previous 2 incidences had been because she was careless. Say wouldn't make the same mistake again. When Golden Fragrance saw Deception moving towards her, she used aerial fire in order to fly backwards. The 2 players next to her had charged forward ferociously to meet him in battle. One was a battle mage, while the other was a berserker. A spear and a greatsword shot towards Deception. Deception leapt up and landed with a bird fall. His movements were so quick that the other 2 weren't able to react in time and were stepped on. Deception didn't follow up though. With around 20 enemies around them, the melee classes had already started surrounding them and the long-ranged classes had begun firing at them. There was no time to stay in one spot for too long. After stepping on their shoulders, he flipped into the air towards the back. Even so, he was still hit by several bullets in the air. There were just too many enemies. The enemies were ready for ambushes too and their attacks were focused. It had only been a single exchange, but Deception was already in a fluster. Deception really didn't have any confidence in this sort of situation. He only had one more trick in his arsenal. As soon as he landed, he quickly formed a hand seal. Several shadows flew out from him and began wildly attacking. In this sort of situation, the skill was used defensively. The shadows scattered around. The enemies couldn't accurately grasp which ones were which, but at the same time, they didn't need to care about Deception's attacks. They threw out all sorts of skills. If the attack hit, then it hit. If it didn't, then it didn't. It didn't really matter. As for Yi Shu, there were also players attacking him. He wasn't as panicked as Deception was though. Using another player as a weapon, he easily swatted away the 2 incoming enemies. Following afterwards, he followed up with a Gatling gun. He swept his gun across the field, interrupting several skills from long-ranged classes in the distance. The mages had their magic staffs pointed at him, but no magic came out. Their pose made them look incredibly stupid. He really is powerful. Such control over the battlefield was more than enough to astonish these heavenly domain veterans. The rumor that Lord Grimm was Yi Chu had spread far and wide. Though for them to be willing to stand with Golden Fragrance, none of them were loyal fans of Yi Chu. They were still interested in the god skill though. Being able to fight with a god in the game was certainly brag-worthy. As a result, after seeing Yi Shu's beautiful movements, the enemies only grew more excited and attacked more ferociously. Yi Shu hastily had Lord Grimm roll backwards a few times, dodging the incoming attacks. Some looked as if they were going to hit, but Deception's shadows suddenly appeared to block them. A coincidence? Did he dodge in this way on purpose? Did Deception really intentionally block it for him? No one had time to carefully ponder over it. In any case, it had all happened in an instant. 2 of Deception's shadows had died. The fewer the shadows, the clearer the field became. The enemy's attacks had a focus to them. Deception glanced around while switching between his shadows. He saw Lord Grimm rolling around, dodging the barrage of attacks. This didn't look like someone who was going to kill them all. Who has my armor-piercing cannon? Golden Fragrance was excited. She stood out, acting as if she had control over the entire battle. Are you going to let us go if we hand over the cannon? Yi Shu joked. HMPH, if you give it to me, I'll let one of you go, Golden Fragrance said. So it's like that. Then it looks like only I can go. He can't give you what you're looking for, ha ha ha, Yi Shu laughed. Demon, Deception's shadow dance had ended. He heard what Yi Shu said and glared at him in disdain. Golden Fragrance didn't know how to reply. At this moment, shouldn't he be standing out like a hero and sacrificing himself for his friend? If this happened, she would get her armor-piercing cannon back. Deception would get to leave, while Lord Grimm would die. She would be able to keep her promise, as well as complete her objective. Her image would be safe and sound too. But this guy was too shameless. He was actually prepared to sacrifice his friend. Lord Grimm would be let go, but she would have her weapon back. Golden Fragrance hesitated for a moment. After all, even if she killed the target, whether or not her armor-piercing cannon dropped or not depended on luck. After he revived, he could transfer the cannon away. This meant she only had one chance. However, there was a very low chance that the armor-piercing cannon would actually drop. Right now, she had a 100% chance to get it back. Should she sacrifice a bit of her status in the guild to let Lord Grimm go? If she went back on her word and killed them both after taking her weapon back, with so many of her friends watching, Golden Fragrance felt too ashamed to do such a thing. In the end, she didn't need to feel ashamed. Her friends supported her. Golden Fragrance, this is a really good opportunity. First, take your weapon back and then kill him, someone suggested. That's no good. Golden Fragrance was elated. If someone was willing to offer her bad advice, then she wouldn't let the opportunity go. Don't worry. We'll kill him, but let deception go. We can just say that we never let them choose who could go. Isn't that perfect? Another person added. Oh, that works, Golden Fragrance agreed. Thus, she immediately shouted, hand me the cannon. You'll let me go. Yi Shu needed confirmation. She lost the word battle. Golden Fragrance was stuck. However, her other friends had an idea, return the cannon to Golden Fragrance and we'll let you go. Who do I mean when I say, you? I'm talking about deception, ha 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 ha. This person explained. How low? Even she couldn't help but look down on him. So the deal is set, Yi Shu said. Yes. You won't go back on your word, Yi Shu said. I won't. Let me think about it. I feel like it's a bit embarrassing for me to accept it, Yi Shu said. Golden Fragrance obviously understood that she had been played. During this time, their attacks had stopped and the two had time to rest. I'm not letting a single one of you leave alive, Golden Fragrance shouted. Agreed, Yi Shu replied. Right when Yi Shu said this, raging flames suddenly roared up from the ground. However, the flames didn't target Deception or Lord Grimm, but rather the players. All of them stared blankly in surprise. Firestorm was a level 60 elementalist skill. An unspecialized couldn't learn it, so who had used it? They still hadn't figured it out yet. Boom! The sounds of raging flames and violent winds burned their bodies. Who is it? Everyone was astonished. Someone was clearly attacking them. A shadow suddenly flickered on the ground. They looked up and saw a berserker lifting a greatsword above his head. The berserker leapt down from a nearby rooftop and smashed the ground with an earth-splitting slash. There were many skills in Glory which began from high above to down below. The damage and effects depended on the height difference. Earth-splitting slash was one such skill. By jumping down from the rooftop, the player could take advantage of the extra height between the roof and ground. This was common knowledge. How big would the area of effect for the earth-splitting slash be? The noobs in the normal servers might not know, but the Heavenly Domain veterans had an idea. No one dared to face it head-on. Everyone immediately spread out. Another two shadows appeared, but neither of them arrived on stage in as domination of a fashion as the berserker. Of the two shadows, one of them held a battle spear, while the other had nothing in his hands. One was a battle mage, while the other was a grappler. These two figures took the rear. An elementalist was standing on another rooftop. His staff was pointed towards where the firestorm was blazing. Clearly, he was the one who had executed the sneak attack. Who are these people? Everyone cried out in astonishment. Rumble. The earth-splitting slash crashed into the ground and the ground shook. From where the sword hit, a shockwave spread out. A faint sword energy could be seen resonating within the shockwave. This was an effect of the earth-splitting slash. If a target was hit, there was a chance the target would turn dizzy. Fortunately, they had prepared themselves and spread out. No one was hit by the earth-splitting slash, but immediately afterwards, a red glow emanated from his body and he entered a berserk state. Two scarlet eyes stared in their direction. He crouched down and his greatsword was placed behind him. A bright light shone from the tip of the sword and a bloody mist formed above the ground. Crimson Storm. They immediately recognized this skill. It was the Berserker level 70 skill, Crimson Storm. Interrupt him, someone shouted. Crimson Storm was extremely powerful, but it had a very slow startup animation. Without any setup, it was unlikely to come out. However, Crimson Storm wasn't a skill that was cast like Elementalist skills. As a result, the skill couldn't be interrupted with a simple attack. There were two ways to interrupt it. One was to use a grab skill. This could interrupt any skill. The other way is to do enough damage, which was set by the system, to forcefully stop the attack. At this moment, this berserker had used an earth-splitting slash in order to scatter the enemies. He had done a bit of setting up. It was a bit too late to grab him, but long-ranged classes could still attack. Long cast time skills couldn't be used, but they could still send out a few quick attacks. Bullets and magic flew towards the berserker. However, Lord Grimm suddenly rolled forward and with a wah, his myriad manifestation umbrella opened up, blocking the incoming attacks. This was enough. Crimson Storm activated and the berserker's greatsword was transformed into a humongous, blood-colored sword. The sword descended towards the ground. The instant the sword hit the ground, it exploded and a bloody mist spread out all around. F***CK. They weren't able to interrupt his skill and hastily tried to escape, but several of them weren't able to escape in time. Fortunately, no one had been directly cut by the blood sword. It was undoubtedly a huge portion of the skill's damage. The battle mage and grappler had finally arrived. The battle mage lifted up his spear and a huge dragon roared towards the enemies. The grappler closed in on a player, lifted him up, and swept around in a circle. Grappler skill, spinning throw. Chapter 485, Attack Like Fire. Each of them displayed skills with incredible effects. In an instant, a firestorm turned the streets into a sea of fire. A crimson storm covered the ground with pools of blood. A dragon paved a path through the blood. A spinning throw created a single spot of blank space. None of Golden Fragrance's people had died, but they were instantly forced to be on the defensive against these attacks. Don't let them run. Golden Fragrance was a launcher, so she stood farther away from the carnage. None of the attacks had reached her, but when she saw the encirclement split apart, she hastily let out a shout. Relax, none of us will run, Yi Shu replied. After Lord Grimm covered for the berserker, he rushed through the pools of blood created by the Crimson Storm. It was a bit of a dirty move, but it was certainly effective. The cleric on the rooftop cast a heal and a white light surrounded Lord Grimm's body. A shield could only reduce damage. If it were possible to avoid the attack, then it would be best to avoid it instead of blocking it. Lord Grimm was only level 52. By protecting the berserker from all the incoming attacks, his health had dropped drastically. Deception threw out a shuriken and his character followed behind Lord Grimm. He wasn't surprised by this. Before these people had joined the battle, they were already in the party. He had known that there were helpers coming. He and Lord Grimm were simply stalling for them to arrive. Who are these guys? The players on Golden Fragrance's side were shouting furiously, but they didn't recognize any of the names of these players. None of them had a guild tag either. Where had they come from? These four players broke into the crowd of confused enemies. They followed along the path that Lord Grimm took and attacked the players forced away by the Crimson Storm. When these characters focused on one target, their strength was incredibly ferocious. In the blink of an eye, one of the players was beaten up and killed. Ice wall, left side. As soon as Yi Shu shouted this, the cleric immediately cast an ice wall. Ping, ping, ping. Walls of ice formed, blocking the path of the incoming enemies. These enemies didn't go around them. Instead, they attacked the ice walls and broke through them, but in just this brief moment, another one of their allies had fallen. What are you doing, cleric? Two allies had died instantly without any chance for them to be rescued. Golden Fragrance furiously pointed her finger at the cleric on her team. Fast, too fast, the cleric could only tell the truth. Everything had happened too quickly. Lord Grimm's team had 6 people. They would surround one person and then attack like fire. Lord Grimm's team was blocking the view and the visual effects also covered the name. The cleric couldn't even tell who they were attacking. He could jump up and see who was being attacked or look at the team list in order to see who was being attacked. However, these methods were way too slow. By the time he jumped up to see the name and landed to cast the heal, or if by the time he figured out whose health bar was dropping rapidly, the health bar would be empty and he wouldn't be able to heal them anyway. This was how 2 of them had died already. It wasn't an instant kill, but it was close. For these clerics, their skill level wasn't good enough to keep up with the pace. The ice walls shattered and the group of players rushed forward. Then, they saw Lord Grim flick his sleeves and a shadow cloak flung out. Shadow cloak was a grab skill. It didn't do much damage, but it had a fairly wide area of effect. When the shadow cloak came out, the group of players wanted to dodge, but because they were clumped together, blocking each other's paths, many of them weren't able to avoid it. The several that had been wrapped up in the shadow cloak were squeezed together into a tight space. Rising dragon soars the sky. Thunder apocalypse. Whirlwind strike. Flame cut. Earthquake. Lord Grim and the other 5 in his team attacked at practically the same time. Their timing was slightly off, but the shadow cloak had bound several players together, making them unable to escape. Shadow cloak didn't do much damage. It was mostly used to interrupt an opponent's attack, which was why grab skills were so useful. In addition, it was good at gathering monsters. Of course, in this case, the shadow cloak wasn't gathering monsters, but players instead. The following 5 attacks might not have been their class's strongest skills, but they were most definitely the most suitable at this moment. Magic rippled. Thunder roared. A tornado whirled. Fire blazed. An earthquake shook the ground. The caught players were blasted into the air. Not a single one of them came back down. Yishu's Lord Grim had followed up with a collapsing mountain after using the shadow cloak. Lord Grim's attack power was weaker than everyone else's, but it was still something. If he didn't seize these type of openings, he didn't deserve to be called a god. As soon as this wave finished, everyone immediately unleashed another wave of attacks. Everything happened extremely quickly and, in an instant, 5 players had already died. This sort of strategy was often employed against monsters, especially low-leveled ones. The strategy was to gather the monsters and then kill them all in one go. However, now it was being used in a PvP scenario. In just 2 waves of attacks, 5 players had been wiped out. Golden Fragrance was still trying to get the troops back in order. Even though the sudden entrance had caused their formation to go into disarray, when she saw that it was just 4 people, Golden Fragrance didn't think too much of it. Her side still had the advantage in numbers, so what if another 5 came? Her side would still have 3 times the number of players that they had. Who would have thought that these 5 would be able to kill off 7 of her allies in just 30 seconds? Golden Fragrance wasn't even able to finish repositioning her troops. She was still figuring out where everyone was supposed to go. By the time she checked the team list and prepared to arrange them appropriately, 7 names had already turned gray. Golden Fragrance was shocked. After the shock came helplessness. Her opponent's offense was as swift as the wind and as fierce as fire. And her mind was completely blank. She had never seen such a ferocious assault before. Her knowledge wasn't able to keep up. Her experience wasn't able to keep up. She had no idea what to do in this situation. In addition, the people on her side were sloppy. Their strategy was simply to take advantage of their numbers to bully the opponents. Tactics. Coordination. They hadn't thought this far. Even though a few of them inside were friends or had played with each other often, it was useless. Against the opponent's ferocious assault, everyone was like Golden Fragrance. They didn't know what to do. They couldn't figure out any way to break their opponent's strategy, apart from the few being attacked. When the blade sliced down from above them, they would instinctively defend. But what could this type of defense do? The players who were able to dodge the shadow cloak could only watch as their captured comrades fell and then their opponents immediately switched over to them. In the blink of an eye, another 2 died. So far, apart from hitting Lord Grim's umbrella shield once and breaking an ice wall, they hadn't been able to do anything else. The group who had been trying to break through the ice wall only had 3 players left. They were the ones with a disadvantage in numbers now. The remaining 3 were so scared that they had even forgotten there were others in their team. After seeing 2 more players die, they immediately headed towards the alleyway. All three of them had a similar single thought resonating in their minds: run. Running was their only option. Running was the only thing they could do. What other choice did they have? The three didn't know and didn't have the time to know. They were trying their hardest to run, but a shadow flickered and appeared in front of them. Another shadow came from above. Sword draw. Ninjutsu, bird fall. Lord Grimm and Deception had used the shadow clone technique to instantly move there. The three had only thought of running and nothing else, so they hadn't thought of this possibility. A sword light flew towards them and 2 feet stomped down. The 3 players flew backwards. Behind them was the grappler, who grabbed one with his left hand and the other with his right. He suddenly leapt into the air and his 2 legs caught the last one. The grappler grabbed all 3 of them. He had used 2 grappler skills simultaneously, flying hands and aerial twist. It was possible to perform both at the same time. With the 2 legs twisting and 2 hands flying, the grappler threw all 3 into a ball and then landed on the ground. The berserker, battle mage, and elementalist were already prepared and immediately attacked. Lord Grimm and Deception followed up with their offense. After a single wave of attacks, the 3 players turned into 3 more corpses. 12 players. As of now, nearly half of Golden Fragrance's team had died. It had only been a minute since the fight had begun. It wasn't like Golden Fragrance had no sense of tactics. She focused on the cleric on the roof and had her subordinates target that cleric. This wasn't a wrong choice. In a team battle, if the enemy's cleric was killed, then the battle could be won much faster. However, common tactics were naturally used during normal situations. Kill the cleric first? Truthfully, Golden Fragrance had felt that she had been too careful in her preparation for it. It wasn't a normal situation. Her side had such a large numbers advantage. Did she really need to make a plan? Sure enough, it really wasn't a normal situation. Cleric? Was the cleric even useful in this battle? Golden Fragrance was doubtful. While 12 of her allies died, the enemy cleric hadn't done any healing. Quick. Too quick. Killing 12 players in 1 minute. This was how fast a one-wave strategy was. However, a one-wave strategy was generally only used when one side had a clear numbers advantage and a levels advantage. According to normal theory, her side should be the one doing this. Why had it flipped? Why was their side being the one being crushed? Too strong. Let's retreat. None of them were noobs. If they weren't able to figure out the huge difference between their strengths, then that would be a noob. Let's retreat. I'll call for backup, Golden Fragrance hastily called. You're going to run? You're making this difficult for us. I keep my promises. If I say no one escapes, then no one escapes, Yishu's voice rang out.